and welcome to the programme. For the first time in 25 years, Ukraine has fundamentally revised its foreign exchange and currency control rules. Now, back on February the 7th, 2019, the law of Ukraine called on currency and currency transactions came into effect, making the long-awaited move towards liberalization of foreign exchange controls. Now, this new liberal model should facilitate free movement of capital and improve the investment climate in general in Ukraine. Now, to learn more about the key provisions of the newly introduced regulation, we welcome to our studio today Yevhen Nevmerzhytskyy, an economist. Thank you very much for coming in.
Hello, thank you.
It has been simplified somewhat. Now there are about 8 main decrees which replaced the 56 that the National Bank of Ukraine used to have. Is it possible for you to sum up in, say, 1 or 2 minutes, what are the main improvements that this law brings in, and what sort of possibilities does this allow foreign companies to have that they didn't used to have, say?
Okay, first of all, I have to say that this law liberalizes currency operation in Ukraine, and it is a quite good signal for foreign investors. Now it is much easier to reinvest capital, to invest inside Ukraine capital, and for foreigners and for Ukrainian companies and for Ukrainian citizens, currency operations become more easy. So, for example, individuals can open accounts on foreign banks without licensing in national bank. It is possible to buy security abroad in foreign banks and foreign companies. It will make movement of capital, and it will make easier life of people who make some business abroad and who just want to invest in stable economy to secure their money. And inside Ukraine, it is possible now to exchange hryvnia for foreign currency online. Previously, it was possible and quite easy to exchange hryvnia for currency in banks, in point of sales, and so on. But amount of transactions was restricted. Now those restrictions cut, and people can exchange much more amounts of currency, and when they cross border, they can get with them, if I'm not mistaken, $10,000 US, something about this. Is 10 times more than previously, and it's without any declaring of.
So all of these measures really put together benefit business and citizens as well.
Yes, business and citizens and people.
And let's talk about the restrictions that were in place in 2014 when the Ukrainian economy was in a very difficult position. The National Bank of Ukraine has gradually started loosening the restrictions on currency. They were put there for a good reason. Is it possible for you to analyse how far we are down the line towards completely liberalising the market? I mean, is there such a thing, or what sort of progress do you think that the bank is making now?
The main thing for Ukrainian economy is protection of investors, protection of business. And it is even more important than currency liberalization. I think it is a quite normal thing when a central bank, our national bank, can make some restrictions on currency operation to stabilize Ukrainian currency. For example, it's obligatory selling of foreign currency, which our businesses and individuals got on their account. But now the law restrict just for 6 months, no more than for 6 months. National Bank can input some additional regulations, and I could underline that it is quite normal thing for controlling currency situation in Ukraine.
And there's also, I read on the National Bank of Ukraine website, there's a new system for fines as well. So even the fines have been liberated in a way.
Yes, and fines are already cut. So it is really easier to make foreign currency operations, and it is really liberalized, these things.
Yeah, and I wanted to speak to you a bit about the currency exchange as well, for our viewers who perhaps don't know so much about floating exchange rates and related themes. Is the Ukrainian hryvnia, in your opinion, still quite unstable?
Okay, 2 last years, Ukrainian hryvnia is quite stable. During 2 years after 2014, we have quite bad situation in banking sphere. It was many banks were put off from the market, and Ukrainian hryvnia was it was quite a high rate of devaluation, and now for 2.5 years Ukrainian hryvnia is quite stable. It is no more than 3% around the year, and now for several months it's even harder, so for about 5%. So we can say that 2.5 a year Ukrainian hryvnia is quite stable. It is a very good signal for Ukrainian economy.
Yeah, and it's good for people who are perhaps looking to invest in Ukraine as well, because if they see the rate going up and down and different regulations are coming in, then it's quite difficult to predict. And businesses like stability, they like to be able to predict what's going to happen in the future.
Of course, stable home currency is very important thing for individuals, for businesses. Business can make a long-term project and so on. But again, I can underline that the main thing for Ukrainian economy is protection, real protection of investors, of business, court system, and so on. All state institutions have to protect investors, and if it will happen, so we can expect foreign investors to our economy, and our Ukrainian economy have a very big, really big potential in terms not only resources like land or other resources, intellectual resources as well, people's resources.
Well, this is one of the main factors of the economy.
Yeah, and unfortunately, our people from Ukraine now going abroad to earn some money, and their salary, they transfer salary to Ukraine, and it's the amount of this transfer is about $10 billion US a year. Wow. And it is 10 times more than we expect from International Monetary Fund.
That's incredible.
It is really incredible. Again, I'm underlining this point that Ukrainian government should protect people and make conditions to work here.
Because it benefits Ukraine, even if you have your citizens abroad, it can still benefit the Ukrainian economy. I want to go back actually to what we said in the introduction about the new legislation that was introduced on February the 7th, so not so long ago. How long do you think it will take for this particular new set of rules, the simplified and liberalized regime, I guess you could say, to actually filter through the banking system?
It is already working.
But it's already working effectively?
Yes, yes, from 7 of February. So the law is in power, and banks are starting to exchange currency online. And Ukraine has a very good banking infrastructures. Banking technologies are very developed here in Ukraine.
Well, can you give us an example of the banking technology, for example, that would be quite developed?
Cards technology. I used to work in this sphere from 1996, and Visa and MasterCard operations. It is very developed. I can mention another sphere. Lending, people's lending. It is a developed sphere, and risk assessment quite developed as well, and electronic operations. So everybody now can transfer money using mobile telephones, make internet transactions, and so on. So our people have accounts in many banks, and they are familiar with banking servers.
Yeah, that's true actually, because I feel really old-fashioned. I still don't pay on my phone or have one of these touch cards, that sort of thing. So thank you so much for coming in to our studio, and it was a pleasure speaking to you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Yevhen Nevmerzhytskyy, an economist. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more with UATV.